Right. Good morning, good afternoon, sorry, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for being here. My name is Juliette Laurent. I work for the Climate and Clean Air Coalition Secretariat, where I coordinate the development of the AQMx, or the Air Quality Management Exchange platform. And so today you'll hear more about testimonies from users, applications of the AQMx guidance, and we also have a more interactive session where we're really looking forward to hearing your suggestions and your feedback on the platform. But before I go into the detail of the AQMx content, I wanted to give you a little bit of background on why this platform was needed. So the first bit of background I wanted to highlight is a report that was published by the Clean Air Fund and UNEP, titled Strengthening Air Quality Management Guidance. And so as part of this report, the authors interviewed hundreds of air quality practitioners around the world and asked them for the biggest barriers and the biggest challenges that they were facing. The answer was clear. So the first barrier, and I don't think it will be a surprise to anyone, was lack of access to funding. But the second barrier that they identified was the lack of capacity, and especially the lack of access to technical information and to guidance on specific areas of air quality management. And so what this report highlighted is the need for a global knowledge sharing platform on air quality management that would allow users to find the wealth of knowledge that has been produced by the clean air community and access it easily all in one place. The second piece of background I wanted to highlight is that AQMx is actually a direct response to the mandate of member states who called for the development of a global knowledge sharing and capacity building platform on air quality management in UNEA Resolution 610 on the promotion of regional cooperation to improve air quality. And so the Climate and Clean Air Coalition was mandated by the UN Environmental Assembly to develop such a platform. And last piece of background that I wanted to highlight is the CCAC Clean Air Flagship, which is a program which will run from 2024 to 2026 with the objective to raise ambition and to catalyze action on clean air for CCAC and its partners. And among others, one of the key activities that we have implemented as part of this Clean Air Flagship is the development of AQMx. So AQMx is available online. It was launched on International Clean Air Day of 2024 by the Climate and Clean Air Coalition. For those of you who aren't already familiar with the platform, I wanted to quickly highlight its main components. The first component, which was really at the core of AQMx, was to develop air quality management guidance, which is really step-by-step recommendations for 8 areas of air quality management. So, of course, monitoring, but also source attribution and emissions inventories, methodologies for health impact assessment, environmental impact assessment, also looking at the impacts of air pollution on agricultural productivity, decision support, public engagement and communication, and lastly, legal framework and policy design. And really this coherent set of guidance helps to cover the key issues, the key challenges that air quality practitioners are faced. Here, I want really to recognize the role of the AQMx Technical Advisory Group, which is a group of leading experts in those 8 areas of air quality management who have actively contributed to the development of the guidance. And I'm very happy today because we have 2 members representing the Technical Advisory Group today, Glinda Batten-Baterina, who is our public engagement and communications expert on the tag, as well as Beatrice Cardenas, who is the chair of the AQMx Technical Advisory Group. So this AQMx guidance on air quality management is structured around 5 stages of engagement or 5 stages of capacity. The idea behind that is that we need to be able to provide tailored recommendations to air quality practitioners, no matter what their current level of capacity, of technical skills is, and that the AQMx guidance can help them progress from one stage to the other as they strengthen their capacity. So stages 1, 2, and 3 are already available on the AQMx platform, and we are currently developing the 2 remaining stages, so stages 4 and 5, looking at more advanced technologies and methodologies of air quality management. And those will be launched this year on International Clean Air Day, so early September. The second key area of the AQMx platform is the sectoral guidance. So initially, it was not part of the plan that we had for AQMx. The plan was to really focus on air quality management, but we heard increasingly from partners, but also from AQMx users, that guidance was needed on concrete and effective policies to cut emission at the source. And that while we are strengthening the capacity of countries on the collection of data, the development of robust emissions inventories, still at the same time, we know that action is needed now. And so the objective of the sectoral guidance is to provide very concrete and actionable recommendations to improve those clean air policies, no matter how much data is available. To begin with, we have focused on black carbon-rich sources, looking at 4 priority sectors. For agriculture, the guidance is focusing on alternatives to crop residue burning. For the household energy sector, we are looking at how to expand access to e-cooking. For the road transport, we are focusing on fuel quality, in addition to vehicle emission standards and inspection and maintenance of vehicles, which was actually 2 sets of guidance that were launched this morning during the plenary session. And finally, for waste management, we are focusing on the elimination of open waste burning. This year, we are planning to develop additional sectoral guidance. We have several sectors in mind, several policies in mind, but we are also very interested to hear your suggestions, to hear, according to you, what are the most pressing needs, what are your priorities in terms of sectoral intervention, and how future AQMx guidance could support those priorities. And the last component I want to highlight on AQMx is this resource library, where we have gathered more than 1,500 trusted and robust resources. So anything from databases, online tools, models, but also reports, scientific publications, and real-world examples of best practices for action plans, standards, communication materials. And this is, of course, something that we are updating on a very periodic basis as new knowledge products become available. And I also take this opportunity to encourage you to suggest additional resources that you wouldn't find on the library at this moment. So I'll stop here for this overview of the platform and present briefly our speakers and our agenda for today. So first, we will hear about testimonies from AQMx users, how AQMx content can support air quality practitioners in their work, how they can leverage the content and the guidance for training and capacity building activities. So we will hear first from Itipol Powermart, who is an environmental specialist at the Thailand Pollution Control Department and also a member of the AQMx focus group. And then we'll hear from Mr. Hiroaki Takiguchi, Senior Advisor for Environmental Policy at JICA. The second half of the workshop will focus on demonstrating the content of the guidance. So how can we apply the AQMx guidance to address different questions? We'll do a deep dive on the public engagement and communications guidance with Glinda Batten-Batarina, who is the Deputy Executive Director of Clean Air Asia, as you all know, but who also made us the honor and the pleasure to serve on the AQMx Technical Advisory Group. And we will also hear from our AQMx waste management expert, Lucy Stevens, who has led the development of the sectoral guidance on open waste burning. Now, Lucy was supposed to be in the room with us today. Unfortunately, due to flight disruptions, she will be joining online, but we thank her for her presence. And finally, we will have, as I was saying at the beginning, an interactive discussion. The objective for us is to brainstorm together future AQMx content, future functionalities, to understand your current needs, your current priorities, and to discuss together how we could address those through the AQMx platform. And for this interactive session, we will be led by Beatriz Cardenas, who is the One Atmosphere Director at WRI Mexico, and who is also serving as the chair of the AQMx Technical Advisory Group. So now I will stop here for this introduction and call to the floor our first speaker. As you the microphone? Of course. I'm not sure this one works. Yeah, that's okay.
Hello, hello. Hello, hello. Yeah, okay. So thank you very much, Julius. Very, very nice introduction, and good afternoon, everyone. And I think everyone familiar with my face because from the first day until now, I take this one because this is low cost sensor. So now I'm doing experiment how a low cost sensor linked to our activity, not only in the building, but this evening I also participate in the walk activity with the team. So we can familiar with like a how link of the local sensor to like a activity nearby the city. So this is just allow me to put this one in the room, and I'm sure this is the indicator to make sure that our room very, very clean. Yes, I put here. Yeah. So thank you very much. Actually, as Julius mentioned, I joined the group since last year because what I been working in PCD actually 35 years ago, my first time to participate and join pollution control department. I start to working with air pollution and also air quality management in the laboratory because I'm the transport engineering. So I'm working with the emission standard for Thailand. So 35 years ago, I think Thailand very, very severe with like a very high contaminated with lead, with sulfur contents in the fuels. So that's why particulate matter and also other toxic emission in Bangkok very, very, very severe for the people and also the tourists. So that's why my boss, Dr. Supat Wangwongwatana, he assigned to me first work that after I come back to Thailand, after I finish my scholarship from Thailand government, I need to establish the automotive emission laboratory because the reason at that time we don't have like an emission inventory, yes, but the number of motor vehicle in Bangkok at that time, 3 million. But you can imagine now the number vehicle in Bangkok, almost 15 millions. In a total of country, 44 million. So that's why, and this is the view of my boss, Dr. Supat. He believes that in the future, or maybe peacefully, transportation is the one that we need to keep the people clean for the breathing air in the city. So that's why I put this in my story because I would like to jump to what Julius already mentioned. How important of AQMx platform? Because for me, firstly, I working in the laboratory, so I don't understand any kind of air management process. But after that, my boss, Dr. Supat, assigned to me the second lesson. You need to understand emission inventory. You need to understand sort apportionment, and then use the scientific evidence to identify dominant source in the city. And not only that, this morning, Corinda mentioned very clear scientific-based policy development. But when we have like a database, we need to understand how to make up like a national action plan combined together with relevant organization linked to activity under the dominant source for like a policy and measure. So I think next slide, please. Sorry. So this is what I already mentioned. Firstly, I don't understand. I think someone in this room, maybe you thinking about the right picture because, oh, what next I need to learn about air quality management, but some of you already completely, especially Glinda and the team from ACAP, because you work with this kind of process, very hard work as well. So this is the thing that I would like to share up. No need to thinking about why and how I can join and participate in the air quality management process. And I think this is also, Julius already informed you the background of AQMx. And this is also what Thailand also really appreciate, how we can adopt and try to understand as well what happened in the European regional and other region as well. So this is really nice platform. Next slide, please. This one also, Julius already mentioned, this is the step. And I really appreciate how the platform design from the state 1 to state 5. I think we already complete like a state 1 to state 3 that Julius mentioned. But now this is very important for us because the trend of air pollution, technology to work with like the measurement data, monitoring data also been changed by technology. So that's why I think now it open for the need and also a recommendation from the floor as well, how we can gathering together for the state 4 and state 5. I think this one very challenge because now I think right now after we been facing like the situation, the limited of the budget, but also we open for like opportunity as well for the integration between air pollution and climate change. So that's why I think very challenge for state 4 and 5 to thinking about how to integrate air pollution and climate change. And in the climate change sector, very clear, they understand well for like a budget for manage like a policy and measure. So that's why under the climate change sector, Article 6 of IPCC very open for more collaboration, particularly like Japan. Thank you very much for decarbonization project that you already been start in many network of the country. Yeah, please. So this is jump to Thailand. I have only 2 slides for Thailand example, how we can link to the AQMX platform and how Thailand use the knowledge and experience from the platform to improve our, how can I say, process along like air quality management under the government. I think everything almost similar because we have the same source, even different situation. But for Thailand, not only Bangkok that we've been facing with transportation, we also have like a specific area for petrochemical area with volatile organic compound. We have the northern part that been facing with open burning from forest fire and agricultural burning. So this is something that we try to learn from the knowledge and success story from the AQMX to improve our factor to manage our database as well. So finally, the first thing that really important, monitoring station. Thailand, we've been working on 77 province established monitoring station for the standard in over the world. However, this is the trend of the new one that we follow, the new directive of EU like 2881/2024 that open opportunity for online instrument. And the second one is very important as well, the WHO guideline just released in January this year. WHO guideline also mentioned short-term evaluation from online instrument, very important because it can take immediate action for warning and prevention program. That's very important for the health of the people. I already been discussing with the the group of model who are working with social impact. In the past, we very concerned with like health impact in terms of sickness of the people. But in the future, I would like to see the health impact in terms of warning and preventive system. So this is my story why I'm still working with online instrument, try to link with like activity, try to come up with 1 hour AQI. This is also very, very important for take action for preventive and warning the people in community. Yeah, next slide, please. Yeah, so finally, with the scientific base, the government accept how we can manage the PM2.5 in the country. So the government tried to announcement for National Agenda 2019, but without any scientific information, it takes time as well to communicate well with the government and policy makers. So this is also very important for the AQMx that we can improve our database and how to make this more acceptable and validation. I think this one also very important. Another point very important, we cannot success by only pollution control department. So this is the linkage of the ministry in the government, how we can make things more effective under the dominant source like with Ministry of Transport for mobile source, with Ministry of Industry for industry source, and also other kind of ministry with open burning. So this is to see the picture. And the last thing, very important as well, under the ministry, we need regulation and standard to be the baseline to compare and to evaluate the effective of policy and measure. And this is the thing, very important. We update emission inventory by the support of the AQMx. And I think this is also, we cannot finish only for Thailand. We already done the collaboration with French government to establish the domain of air modeling by gain model for the ASEAN. So this is the baseline that we need more opportunity to improve with the low cost sensor or any kind of equipment. So my last slide, please. So finally, I think what next? Because I think this is not only closing AQMX, but we need to thinking about how to utilize the technical knowledge and experience in the AQMX. So in my sense, I think this is also really opportunity for the new EU directive that already open and try to minimize the situation. And even it start in Europe, but in Asia, we also have the same methodology to work with like a low cost sensor or any kind of toxic parameter that link to health impact of the people directly. I think this one is well for like IT and also digital instrument as well. It's very important. And I think that I mentioned now we're talking not only for air pollution, we need to integrating to climate change as well. And working with air pollution and climate change budget very important. So clean financial also the one that we need to thinking about how to make things happen and try to lesson and learn to the network. And last thing, I think that Juliet already mentioned, very important things for the AQMX to understand what the performance of the platform. I think the needs of everyone here and also your feedback and recommendation will be very, very valuable and meaningful for us. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Tipol, for your testimony and for your suggestions as well. Right, so now we'll hear from our next speaker. I will just put up the slide. And so we will hear about capacity building and training activities implemented by JICA and how AQMS can be leveraged.
My slide is PDF. Can I use this?
Can you tell me? Yes, thank you.
Juliet, the screen is.
Right, apologies, we have some slight technical issues. I don't know if the IT support is still in the room. The PDF. Yeah. Okay, so let me try to share from my computer. Yeah, nothing is better. Exactly. Yeah. Okay. Trying to see. It's not bad. No, it's okay now. Wait.
I think now it's working.
Juliet, I think it's okay now. Is this one?
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much. Now the technical problem has been solved. And the title of my presentation is Leveraging AQMx for Capacity Building Activities. My name is Hiroaki Takiguchi. I'm a Senior Advisor, Japan International Cooperation Agency, JICA. Today, I'd like to explain how we, JICA, make use of AQMx. Next slide, please. Actually, JICA has a number of programs to support our partner countries. For example, grant support or non-grant support, such as low interest loan, public-private partnership. And today, I'd like to highlight knowledge co-creation program. Next slide, please. So, what is a knowledge co-creation program? This program was previously named the training program. Actually, it's training program, but we changed the title because our intention is not one-way teaching. It should be mutual learning. And based on this idea, knowledge is co-created through dialogue and practice. So the title of our training program is now Knowledge Co-Creation Program. Next slide, please. And we have Knowledge Co-Creation Program on air quality management. This is a one-month program held annually in JICA Yokohama. I serve as the coordinator of this program, and actually this program has a history of over 30 years. And the program focuses on capacity development toward air quality management. We invite central and central and local government officials and researchers from national institutes. And the next slide, please. So this slide explains how the knowledge co-creation program is designed. So the program has lecture, study trip, or site visits, practice, and formulation of action plan. So I will explain each component from the next slide. So the first component is lecture. Participants learn air quality management policies, air pollution control technologies, evaluation and analysis of monitoring data, and environmental inspection. The next slide, please. And the next component is site visit. Participants visit coal-fired power plants, or incineration plants, cement factory, and they visit air quality monitoring stations in Yokohama and in Kawasaki. The next slide, please. And the program has the time for practice, which includes development of emission inventory, air quality model simulation, ambient air sampling. So you see the photograph we explain in air quality monitoring on the rooftop of the building. The next slide, please. And as the output of their participation in the program, we require participants to develop action plan and to address their air pollution issues in their countries. So on the final day of the program, participants present their action plans. And I would like to say this is not an action plan on paper. Actually, in the past, some of the action plans became JICA technical cooperation projects. So we put importance on these action plans. Next slide, please. This is the outline of action plan. So background, issues and problems, scope of the action plan, and their set goal, objectives, outcomes, actions, activities, or necessary resources, including human resources, financial resources. And next slide, please. So when they develop their action plans, I recommend them to use AQMx. This is the slide I used in the program. Actually, I don't need to explain this today, but participants find it very useful for them to develop their action plans. Next slide, please. Especially this part, air quality management guidance is very helpful for them. And next slide, please. So this slide explains examples of action plan developed in 2024. This year, 7 participants we had. And for example, number two, Thailand, I think he's from PCD. His action plan is development of near real-time emission inventory in Bangkok metropolitan region for air modeling input. Or participant from Bangladesh developed action plan for emission control, especially mobile source in Dhaka city, like that. So you see the variety of action plans they developed. Next slide, please. After you listen to my presentation, you might have a question. How you can participate in the program? So this slide will explain the process. The first step is actually the most important process. So partner countries and JICA country offices identify air quality management as a priority development challenge. Actually, JICA has more than 300 KCCP, knowledge co-creation programs, ranging from education and health to infrastructure or waste management, agriculture. So, and each country has something like quota or capacity, depending on the size of the country and the stage of the development. So they have to select air quality management as their priority. After that, the process will go smoothly. We send general information of the program to the country, and the government will nominate who they will send to the program, and they submit applications, and we select who we will invite. And so this is the participation process. And this is my presentation. I explained how JICA use AQMx. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Takiguchi, for your presentation. Apologies again, everyone, for the slight technical issue. We'll dive straight into the next session of the workshop. Thank you. So now I want to give the floor to Glinda, who will walk us through the AQMx guidance on public engagement and communications. Do you want to sit?
Thank you very much, Juliet. How is everybody? This is they call the most difficult time of the day for a conference, but I can see you are all awake. So, and this is going to be, this is not actually a presentation. We will actually, with Juliet's help, we will go through the AQMx website and use the resources there, but we will focus on the public engagement and communication guidance. And let's imagine that we are all from a city that wants to develop a communication strategy from scratch. Like that, we are at stage one. We are a stage one city. So this is our imaginary city, and we are all tasked by our mayor to develop a communication strategy, for clean air. Okay, so I think the best place to start is actually on the AQMx main page. And if Juliet can bring us to the public engagement and communication part of the website. So you have all heard that the AQMx platform has free resources, no? And there's one resource that's called the Guidance on Public Engagement and Communications. And in addition, it also has built-in resources in the Exchange library. And this is our challenge today is to make use of the available resources to create a clean air communication strategy. Okay, so now you can see this is where you will end up if you look if you find the guidance on public engagement and communications, and if we can scroll down the page, the first thing that we will see is a table with the stages. Five stages equates to the level of resources that a city may have to begin with. So usually we might say that, okay, if you're at stage 1, the situation is the city is starting with no dedicated communication staff. There may be very limited or no public data. And so if you're at that starting point, can you still do something? Can you create a communication strategy? And the answer is yes. And the AQMx, will provide some resources that you can use so you can begin. So what we see here, stage 1, this is the level of capacity that the city usually has. So that's the yellow bar. And our goal then, if we're at that stage, is to engage and inform the public. We also want to build trust with our constituents and with our stakeholders. So what kinds of activities can the city do, even though it has very limited or no resources? So the kinds of activities it can do is to share local sources and impacts and reach affected communities in the process of engaging the public and developing the communication plan. So the okay, so if we go down further below the table, you will see the steps, the 10 steps that is the guidance on what you can do, step-by-step process to develop your communication plan. So what is the first step? So there's a short description of each step, and at the bottom, there is a tab that says Show Resources. So if you want to get additional resources, you can click the tab and it will lead you to free downloadable resources by organizations like C40, other organizations that have contributed to the AQMx. And those will bring you to more detailed information and give you templates, for example. So, for example, for our city, first step is make a plan. And the guidance is you can do a strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats analysis first, and also do stakeholder mapping. So when you click on the resources tab, if you want to know more, oh, how am I going to do a SWOT analysis or a stakeholder mapping? You can click, for example, on the C40 Cities Air Quality Communications Toolkit here. And it's a downloadable document, and you can even choose whether it's an English document you want to read or a French document. And when you download that, you can go to the specific page. So in this case, the guidance on page 7 to 9 describes what is a SWOT, what are the elements of strength, weakness, opportunities, threats, and even has a sample of a SWOT analysis. Okay, so that's how the guidance links to the library. Now we go back to step 2. So the step 2 is you set the goals. And here the guidance is if you set the goals in alignment with the city priorities. And an example is, for example, if the city can set a goal of raising awareness of traffic and waste sources, for example, by 40% in 6 months, and launch 5 low-cost sensors. So that can be your goal. And if that is your goal, then you want to determine how much staff would be needed, what is the budget that you need. So again, for each step, you have resources that you can access. So yeah, so there are several here. But if we go to step 3, step 3 is gather existing data. Obviously, if you want to communicate, you need to have some starting data. Now, what if the challenge is we don't have any air quality monitoring? So we don't have data, so that means we can't communicate anything. So the good thing is there are actually global and regional databases that capture air quality monitoring data. So in this case, the resource under resource, well, there is a link to OpenAQ database that captures the air quality data from sensors all over the world. And you can even, I checked earlier, or if you go to the OpenAQ website, for example, this one tourist city in the Philippines called Baguio, they have data. They have a sensor there that produces data, and you can get data for PM 2.5 for a certain period. No, so yes, there are existing there's existing information you can use even if you don't have your own air quality monitoring. Even though the city doesn't have that. Okay. The next step is create simple messaging and materials. And the guide here is, as much as possible, make the language accessible. Don't use jargon. Well, it obviously know who your stakeholder are and what is the language that will appeal to them. Here we can look at the resource that's available is the Air Quality Communications Toolkit that again from C40 has a lot of templates for how to make social media posts and other creative ideas. Now we can go now to step, so let's just combine steps 5 and 6, which is how do you do knowledge exchange with your community and consulting your communities. So some steps that can be done could be engaging your local scientists, making a WhatsApp group, for example, where all stakeholders can join and be connected, or have focus groups in areas where you have hotspots. So this is engaging your community so that they understand what the problem is, and they can also develop the solutions together with you. So a resource that could be useful here is there is a resource called Clean Air Action Applications of Citizen Science. So this is from the WRI, and they looked at many cities and what were the successful application of people being part of citizen science to capture air quality information in their cities. Now, if we go back to steps 7 up to 9, it's all about engaging, identifying champions, influencers in society that who can deliver the message well. If you want the change of behavior, for example, in a city, for example, we want people to stop burning in households, who would be the champions who people would listen to? Would it be doctors? Would it be mothers? Or like the local chieftain? So looking for those champions, and other activities that you could organize include inviting journalists, for example, for like an air pollution 101 training, to get them on board. So there are many exciting links that can be resources here. Like there's one which is on communicating the health impacts of air pollution, which you can access. There's also actually a city solutions toolkit which Clean Air Asia developed on engaging the media in air quality communication, if that is the target of your campaign or communications plan. So there are so many there are hundreds of resources in the Exchange library that can be accessed. And the last step in developing in public engagement and developing the communication strategy is committing to sharing data. It would really be great if if as part of your city communication strategy that you make the data available to stakeholders like researchers, so that they can conduct studies, do trends analysis that we have been privileged to do because of the trust that governments have given us. No, I think there are many cities with air quality monitoring data, but sometimes access to the data can be quite difficult if the city isn't open to sharing it. So that's I hope you can include that in your communication strategy. So I think I probably exhausted my time now. As you can see, there are a lot of resources that even a city with limited or no data can use in the AQMx resource library. And there is guidance for those just wanting to start small, but important steps to engaging the public and in communicating air quality within their city. So thank you, Juliet, back to you.
Thank you so much, Linda, for this walk through the guidance and very clear and engaging takeaways. So now I think we will move to our next speaker, who is joining online, and we will this time discuss the sectoral guidance on the elimination of open waste burning. And before we go into the detail of the guidance, I think Lucy has prepared a few slides to set the scene on waste management and waste burning in Asia.
Hi, everybody. I just want to check in with you. Can hear me well? Am I coming through?
Yes.
Okay, that's wonderful. It's great to be with you. I'm sorry I couldn't be with you in person. So, but it's good to have this opportunity. So during this session, we're going to introduce you to the sectoral guidance on eliminating open waste burning, and we're going to highlight some of the examples and resources that are available there for Asia specifically. So the guidance, the sectoral guidance is designed to be easy to follow, actionable steps, lots of supporting resources, just like Glinda has just shared with you in other areas of the AQMx, and designed as well to be accessible to people who are not waste management specialists. So if you're working as an air quality manager or a pollution control board, this should be accessible for you. So setting the scene, obviously we know air quality is a very serious problem across Asia and the Pacific. And open waste burning does play an important role in contributing to that. One point I really want to make here is that it's not only contributing to those commonly measured aspects of air quality like PM 2.5, but much more than other sources of pollution. It contains really high, when you burn waste, it contains really high concentrations of highly dangerous toxins, which are extremely harmful to human health. So it's really something that, that we need to pay attention to. And it's a very common practice across Asia. For example, we can see here that households report burning waste as a primary way of dealing with waste at home. And even after the home, we know that waste is also burned further along the chain. So after it's been dumped in the street or at the disposal sites, there's examples of what that looks like, and some figures from Indonesia there on the slide. So CCAC has developed a global program led by the Royal Academy of Engineering, and Charlie is, I think, there in the room, to develop regional roadmaps and city action plans on ending open waste burning. And the Asia Regional Roadmap, led by IJUS, was launched at the CCAC plenary at your conference this morning. And that roadmap includes a baseline covering 10 countries, city pilot activities in Laos, the Maldives, and Iraq. And it highlights what you can see here, that open burning is happening in a couple of locations. You know, it happens both at dumping sites and in residential areas, and for a variety of reasons. So with that in mind, we'll do a little quick walkthrough, like Linda did just now, about the sectoral guidance on steps you can start to take to eliminate open waste burning as part of your actions on clean air. Okay, so how do you find the sectoral guidance? So from the homepage, you can find the sectoral guidance, and Juliet, I think, is going to show how you can link through to it, how you can link through to it from the AQMx homepage. The primary goal for CCAC is that the AQMx should be a one-stop shop for those trying to take action on open waste burning. And so it brings together guidance and tools and resources and data sources, real-world examples that otherwise would be scattered across multiple sites and organizations and reports. And it organizes these into logical step-by-step framework. The other important thing is that it stores those reports, and you saw some of them for communications, within its own library, so that they are always accessible and they're not behind paywalls or anything like that. So the guidance, the sectoral guidance is organized into these sections, and you scroll up and down the page. It's really in 5 blocks. First, about why take action. Then there are 10 steps. Then there are sections on how to finance, how to consider gender and equity, and 6 success stories that we can look at. Yeah. So you don't need to follow every step sequentially. Different steps might be more relevant depending on whether you're working at national or local level. Many cities or countries, you might already be working on several of these steps, but this guidance will help you zoom in on what you might be missing or connect you directly to some really useful tools and resources. So we'll have a little bit of a look at some of the different sections. Under the first one on why take action, this might be really useful if you're needing to convince decision makers that open waste burning is something that you should take action on in air quality. A really important issue to raise here is about gender and equity. So open waste burning can be particularly dangerous for women during pregnancy and at other times, for children, for the elderly, and also for informal waste workers who have very high levels of exposure to smoke from open waste burning. At the end of the guidance, there's the section on gender and equity. But really, those issues are something to look at right from the start. Waste management is a highly gendered issue, and also integrating the informal sector is really crucial for success. So let's weave through the guidance all the way through, and I wanted to mention it right at the beginning. So in terms of supporting resources, a couple of things to mention. One is that resources are referenced in 2 ways in the guidance. Where we've referenced data or evidence in the text, you'll find blue highlighted hyperlinks. So those will take you to the source documents if you click on them that are within the AQMx library. And then as for the public engagement section, you'll find show reporting supporting resources button. And that's where we have curated a smaller selection of documents that are the best and most respected resources, practical guides or toolkits. So you might also find there's an arrow that points like right or left. So you might be able to scroll through. So make sure you don't miss something. Make sure you can scroll left or right. Lovely. So there are 10 steps that you can take. That's the next stage of their guidance. We're not going to go through all of them. They cover things like planning, creating an enabling environment, and taking action. Under baseline assessment, which is step 1, we've seen that in many Asian contexts, waste is burned both in residential areas and at the dump sites. So baseline assessments, they're really useful for prioritizing actions, making sure they're effective by understanding where most waste burning is happening and by whom and why. Also, we know that the informal sector collection and recycling is very active in Asian contexts. So understanding their activities, their contribution to recovering waste, as well as how they are involved in burning waste is really important. If we scroll down a bit, we know that local data can be lacking. We've seen that. So this section also includes pointers to existing data sources, such as the UN Habitat's database and the GIZ waste flow diagram. Further down, you'll see that we're also linked to other parts of the AQMx guidance on air quality monitoring or source attribution. Okay, good. So step 2, institutional arrangements. Once you've got a sense of the extent of the problem and where it's occurring and why, the second step that many of our success stories illustrate was to secure political support and create a local multi-stakeholder task force or committee. So, for example, the success story from Indonesia at the end highlights the importance of strong political commitment and the creation of joint structures to guide the process in each area. So here it's also a good example of where we've highlighted actions that might be important at the local level, as well as national or state level convening and support that can back that up. In terms of supporting resources, some resources here are local level examples. So like there's one from Indonesia here, and others, they're more like comprehensive guides. And you might see the same guide appearing sometimes under different steps because sometimes they've got chapters that relate to different steps. That's the case for the US EPA Best Practices Guide for solid waste management, which has some really, really useful toolkits and frameworks in it. Okay, step 3, planning and design. Just like for the communication strategy, the foundation of success in eliminating open waste burning has to be a strong local action plan, which translates the baseline findings into concrete goals, objectives, and action. And the plan needs to assign responsibilities and identify partnerships and financing strategies. Under the supporting resources, there are also examples here of local action plans, like for Vientiane in Laos, and also the Asia Regional Roadmap. As part of the institutional arrangements, and again in defining the plan, it's really important that informal waste providers have a voice and that women's voices from communities are heard alongside those of men. And also, a range of stakeholders can take action on open waste burning, not just traditional waste stakeholders. So, for example, there's a guide here about how to do planning for zero waste in schools so that schools can take action themselves. Step 4 looks at, yeah.
Lucy, I'm sorry, I will interrupt you because we are running a little bit behind schedule. So I think maybe we will wrap up here so we can save some time for the interactive discussion. And again,
okay,
apologies.
No problem.
We are running behind schedule, but thank you so much for your presentation.
If you just give me like 1 minute, I'm going to go right to the end, Juliet, and
Please
just
go
to
ahead.
highlight, just if you give me 1 minute, just to say like right at the end, Do look at the sections on finance. We know that's a really tricky issue, and there's some really good resources there. There are success stories, and 3 of the 6 success stories cover examples from Asia. So, so do look there for inspiration. And just to say that we really hope that this sectoral guidance will be relevant for you. Don't read it cover to cover, just dip into the sections that you need. And we're really looking forward to this interactive session to get your further feedback and guidance. If you have any feedback on this sectoral guidance, then we'd love to hear it too. But thanks again for the opportunity to share with you today. Thanks, Juliet. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Lucy. Now I want to give the floor to Beatrice, who will kick us off for the more interactive part of this workshop. And again, we really encourage your active participation. We want to hear your suggestions. We want to hear your feedback and any idea for where we could go next in terms of developing new content and new functionalities. Over to you, Beatrice.
Thank you, Juliet, and good afternoon. Thank you for staying. As Linda was saying, this is a difficult time after lunch. But what we wanted to use this time is to get your feedback, your ideas after some of you have already used the guidelines, as we heard this afternoon, and apply it to the country. Glinda and Lucy gave us a good tour to the guidelines. We really invite you to take a look at the guidelines. The guidelines will never be useful if the users do not use them. We sometimes spend a lot of time of designing something and working on it, but how do we know if it's useful? So I think that today we heard that at least there are 2 good case studies in which the guidelines have been used. We love to hear more, but we also would like to know what else, what type of guidelines would you like to see, and if you have any suggestions, as Juliet mentioned. So we would like to invite you to for a very short exercise. Some of the ideas that we have, like what else could be there, what topics could be included in the guidelines. We have some brainstorm, but we would like to share with you, and most importantly, hear from you. Even if you haven't taken a look at the AQMx, please take a look and give us your inputs. It will be very important to see. As Juliet mentioned also, if you know that there are some resources that that will be useful for any of the guidelines, please share that with us. And if you would like to be part of the focus group, if you would like to be our tester, please also say that. So we will wait for you to join. So we would like to know which of the pollutants below are the most important challenges to address in your city, in your community, in your country, in the type of work you do. So apply that to whatever it goes. So we know that we have been focusing a lot on PM 2.5. There are some cities, countries who have been focusing on more pollutants. And the question here is, have we solved the problem of all the pollutants? Or should we start also rethinking what pollutants should we now consider in addition to PM 2.5? Now we know that ozone is there, but we just heard from Lucy, well, there are some toxic pollutants coming from many sources. The fact that we are not measuring them doesn't imply that they are not there. So, and maybe we can make a better strategy of communicating why we need to improve air quality, not only based on one pollutant, yeah, that's a good one, but what about the other ones? When we talk about waste burning, there are all these pollutants and heavy metals, for instance, and dioxins or other toxic pollutants. Okay, so yes, we are still very worried about PM 2.5. We have seen that the global south is still talking about PM 10 and has some that this pollutant is not anymore in the global north discussion. But in the global south, we still have that issue. We still haven't solved. We haven't solved that. So we need to take back the PM 10. Okay, so but there is some interest about the other. CO is very interesting that there are still some questions about carbon monoxide. We have reduced our levels, but it's still high in some areas, particularly nearby schools, nearby working areas, and we know how high levels of CO affect our productivity and our capacity of learning. So that's also something important to bring when we are talking about kids, infancies, and also even productivity. Next question. Okay, so as you know, until now, the AQMx sectorial guidance has been focusing on particulate matter, including black carbon. Now we know that black carbon is important. However, what if we look at ozone mitigation next? Difficult task, because reducing ozone level, we know now after many decades that is not easy, but we know how it can be reduced. So would you be interested? So what will you need to be better equipped to mitigate ozone in your city, in your country, in your community, in your field work? And we are assuming that we are all interested in mitigating ozone, right? Because of the health impacts, because of the climate impacts, and health not only on people's health, but also on ecosystem and productivity of agriculture. Good, so that's also, I will be also like to be better equipped also to mitigate ozone. This understanding of the chemical regime, then, and sometimes in some cities when we thought that we understood the regime that it was governing, something changed, and then now we don't understand why our ozone levels are not reducing. But I think the ozone as an example of how complex is not only to understand, some difficulty to understand, but also to share, to communicate. That's a challenge. I can tell you that from coming from Mexico City, having ozone for the last 3 decades, and it's still difficult to sometimes to make the case, right? You reduce NOx, and then suddenly you have increases in ozone, right? If you don't reduce VOCs, and that's not, that's sometimes I find that it's very challenging to explain, and some of us are not so good in explaining sometimes. So it's good. Thank you. Let's go for the next one. So really, this sharing your views and your information is very important. Again, so well, NOx tends to be better monitored than non-volatile organic, not methanogenic volatile organic compounds. In fact, 2 decades ago, there were some monitoring stations, even in the global south, that has VOCs being monitored. But again, it's difficult, it's expensive, and so now I think that there are very, very few opportunities of knowing. So and mitigation policies for NO2s are generally well known by air quality manager, but what about VOCs? What about non-methanogenic VOCs? What can you tell us about some policies for VOCs? So what will be your priorities in terms of knowing more about what policies are there? Again, we think that that's a gap. The information is there. Of course, the knowledge is there. How, again, in the AQMx, how can we gather that information so it will be easy for you if you are thinking, as Glinda mentioned, it doesn't matter what stage of city, country, community you are. You should be able to find information and help you to get the answers you are looking for. So again, more information about, oh, that's interesting, road transport combustion, yes. We are aiming a lot of reducing emissions from road transport, but we focus a lot on PM and black carbon, but there are a lot of opportunities to reduce and to show that there are also reductions in VOCs if we do something about it. We keep forgetting that there are some actions, some experiences. I remember many of my colleagues, by the way, have been taking the training offered by JICA. And when they come, they say, oh yeah, they have been doing this and this for emissions control, including VOCs. Good, the next one. We should go faster, right? Okay, so AQMx is a global tool designed for air quality practitioners worldwide. Again, it's not global north, it's not global south, still global north cities are still facing problems. So please tell us about what future content or functionalities you would like to see in the future. So if I ask you, you have won a training or you will be the advisor for the AQMx, what else do we have to include? What have you seen that is not there? Maybe it's there, but you haven't seen it, but it doesn't matter. Tell us what you think is needed and how can we make more functional the platform. So we were thinking about communities of practice, of knowledge hubs, of course, online courses. I mean, similar to what Glinda or Lucy gave us, like they took us to the tour. They tour us. So do you need that? You need to have some expert advisory. So maybe you are stuck in of using the guideline and you will need some advice. Webinars. What if we promote more webinars to go through to the guidance? Or what about upcoming events? You will be interested in training or identifying funding opportunities. How to implement? Now you have the plan. How do you implement those? Good. So we also, okay, so anything you would like to suggest, the AQMx team. It is really amazing. I remember when this idea of the AQMx was coming, just 3 years ago, right? And how fast it has been implemented and the large number of guidelines. But again, how do we know that if it's working? So it's up to you. I was just talking before the lunchtime. What if we involve more or other organizations, even local organizations? What exactly would you like to see in the AQMx? Okay, promote it. Yeah. We need to let everyone know.
What I'd like to suggest as well is for participants who are inputting the Mentimeter, please raise your hand and tell us more about what you have in mind. Please feel free to take the floor.
Would anyone like to share something? What you think that Tammy?
Thank you, guys. And I mentioned this earlier this week, but you know, and it was mentioned today, the need for support in data analysis, bringing air quality data to the sort of result or the information that people can use and act on. And so providing that level of data analysis to support communities that don't have the capacity to do that.
Good, thank you. Please.
Hi, I'm Desiree, and I saddle between the health and environment sectors. And I just feel that coming from the health sector, I think there's a need really to link air quality with the health impact. And I know that, okay, the AQMx has the health impact assessment, but this might seem ambitious, but to have a real-time electronic medical record linked with the real-time air quality is going to be the vision, meaning use the tool such that you have it linked also to an electronic medical record. By then, if I am the clinician, I can have a decision on who is the patient at risk, or what can I do in terms of emergency preparedness and response. So, and this could be something that, you know, the team could consider in the future, having something real time in the world of digitalization, then we should be able to use it for the common good and public health.
Thank you. I'm from Tata Steel. We look forward to support on how to predict emissions and how can one make few scenarios, you know, so that we are better prepared in preventing rather than mitigation after a situation. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, indeed, that's another tool that we and capacities that we have to develop. Yes, please.
Yeah, I would like to support the idea of beautiful lady to link together with like a digital for pollutant and also health impact, because now the modern of advanced technology can be linked together. And for Thailand now we also working with the hospitalized, how to link together with PM2.5 and also the symptom of the respiratory of the human. So I think this is really good idea. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think that there are some examples that they are already not really in real time, but really knowing what is coming and then also connecting and be in communication with the health system with something is coming or some already happened. So anything else? What would you like to see in the AQMx? You can just is your wish list. So ask for it and then we'll see.
Okay, thank you. My name is Liu Xin from the Energy Foundation. I think it would be good to add some like the methodology or analysis tools on the air quality with the energy consumption. I'm not sure whether the AQMx have this analysis tools, since I think China's experience showed that if you want to improve air quality, you need to cut off the coal and maybe phase out the oil. And what if the linkage between the energy consumption and the PM2.5 and the ozone? I think this is very important. Another thing is that I think maybe the national-owned institutes who already know this comprehensive methodology to come up with a national air quality planning, something like that. But what is this particular the targets our AQMx, the website will support? Maybe we can focus more on their needs. Yeah, not maybe at the city level or the community level. Maybe there are some different methodologies to help them. Yeah, so thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, in this case, I mean, the stages also shows that in some cases you can use it thinking of a community, of a city or a country, but sometimes there may be some difference if you are planning to do a national plan versus a community or city. So yeah, I think that we can also do that. Lucy put something in the chat. Lucy, would you like to comment?
Yeah, of course. Well, it was just this link to the health data. Sometimes when it comes to air quality, people think about stats to do with, you know, how many deaths are caused by poor air quality. But actually, one of the most impactful pieces of data that led to action in Nairobi on air quality, which is in our success story on open waste burning, was that with a finding that a third of all hospital visits in the city were due to upper and lower respiratory conditions. So it was a leading cause of hospital visits, and that was, you know, directly related to poor air quality. So, you know, we're all going to die of something, but actually, if it's really costing a lot in terms of hospital visits and it's taking up a lot of time in the health care, that really helped to bring that particular fact really helped to bring the health and environment departments together to take some action. So I think this link between the health system and the air quality can be really impactful to help people take action and to raise the issue up the priority list.
Thank you, Lucy. Well, we are running out of time. We really appreciate your time for this session, and we really, I mean, on behalf of the AQMx, and of course, recognizing and acknowledging the big, the great job that Juliet has done, and the whole CEC team, and Amanda as well, and Alba, really. I'm really telling you, when we were thinking about this 3 years ago, it looked so far away. And now it's there, and it's really, we have something. But it's only useful if someone, like the users that we were thinking, tell us what is going on, if they feel that it's working, and what else can be done, and what ideas or what the topics we can cover. So really appreciate your inputs, and please, if you have more ideas, send an email to Juliet and tell us what you would like to see. I think that the idea that you share with us and your time is very useful. Thank you so much also for the speakers, for the panelists. Thank you.